Hello, students. We are talking about the International Financial Management, which is a course part of the PG Diploma in Financial Management. And we are in semester 2. The course or subject is International Financial Management. So this is your course, and this is your course. The code number PGDFM-2460, 24604. IFM is the code. And the subject is International Financial Management. Fine. We have been talking about the first block, wherein we have covered the overview of international financial management. Then we just came to theories of foreign exchange rates. Then exchange rate mechanism also, how the exchange rate mechanism operates. I told you that any price that is fixed is based on the interaction of the demand and supply for that particular product. So is the case for the currency. Every country has its own designated currency. And if you have to buy the products of other countries, then you need to possess that country's currency in order to make procurements or purchases. And, larger the volume of the currency of other countries, a particular nation or economy possess, stronger is that economy. Or at least it should be backed by commodities like gold or silver or any other precious metal. Or at least by the fossil fuels, maybe crude oil or it may be coal or something like that. So that's where we stopped. Exchange rate mechanism, we stopped it. And we came to block 2, markets for foreign exchange and derivatives. Market for foreign exchange and derivatives. Foreign exchange market. Let's look into the 34th page and 47th page of your study material. 34 is the point where we stopped at, and 47 is the beginning of the next block. So let's look at some of the, chapter 34. I'm sorry, page 34. Yeah, exchange rate mechanism. So what you'll be learning, how the codes are, how the codes are operating in the international market for the given currency. So how the quotes are made in the international platform for a given currency, right? So these are some of the basic calculations, all right? And I will just give you, this is the interaction of demand and supply for the commodity. Now, let me give you a basic definition, or if any of you know the basic definition of what is exchange rate. Yeah, the definition, whether it is given here or not, you must be knowing what is an exchange rate. What is the rate at which? It is a rate at which, okay, the value of one country's currency is equated with that of another country's currency. How do you understand this sentence? How many rupees you had to shell out in order to buy $1? Is it correct? It's an easy way of understanding things. How many rupees you had to shell out to buy a Singapore dollar, an Australian dollar, or a Japanese yen or Canadian dollar. So what is the rate at which every Canadian dollar requires 46 rupees? Every US dollar requires 75 rupees or 78 rupees. So it is a rate at which one country's currency is exchanged against that of another country. Okay, this is an exchange rate. And in the international market, the quotes for these exchange rates are in two modes, two formats. One is direct quote, another one is indirect quote. Okay, yeah, if it is a direct quote, it gives the domestic country's currency price for a given unit of foreign currency. Let's say if India quotes the exchange rate between the rupee and the US dollar in direct way, the quotation is, let's say 78 by $1, 78 Indian rupees by per $1, or 78 Indian rupees by one US dollar. In case of indirect quote, it doesn't happen just like this. The value of one unit of country's currency is presented in terms of foreign currency. The exchange rate, if you take the example, it is quoted as, 14 cents per 1 rupee. 14 cents per 1 rupee. Or, the other country's currency, if you are giving 1 rupee, how much it is equated to other country's currency. This is indirect quote. The direct quote, your country is important, takes the prime place. Your country's currency is measured against another country. Direct. When it is indirect quote, other country's currency is measured against your current country's currency. This is indirect quote. Let's say, if it's a direct quote, 74 rupees is equal to 1 Australian dollar. The solution is, the solution is 1 by 74. 1 by 74. You get the answer in decimals. 0.0206 Australian dollars. One Indian rupee is equal to 0.206 Australian dollars. In the case of indirect quote, it is opposite. The British pound, the Great Britain pound, GBP, is the British pound per rupee is 0.0112516 by 1 rupee, 1 Indian rupee gives it gives another value, 1 by 0.0112516, which is equal to 88 rupees. Okay, now every Great Britain pound is equal to 88 rupees is what the solution that we arrive at. So you can understand with these two illustrations, the direct quote and the indirect quote. Now, the buying and selling rates, how they, operate in the market. The buying quote of a currency denotes the rate at which the banks buy the given currency, and selling quote is at which the banks sell a given currency. The buying rate is a bid rate. The other name for buying rate is a bid rate. The selling rate is also called as ask. If you want to buy, if you can remember the derivatives, another course, another subject, there buying means bid, okay? Selling means ask. The buying rate is bid rate always called, and selling rate is always called ask rate or offer rate. Bid opposite to bid is offer or ask. The bid-ask spread is simply the difference between the price at which the dealer will buy and sell a currency, and that's his gain. Those who are dealing in currency, in currency exchange or in currency derivatives or in currency trading, there is a bid rate, there is an ask rate. the rate at which the bid and ask, there is a rate at bid, there is a rate at ask. I mean to say, the rate when you're buying a particular currency, there's a rate when you're selling a currency. Okay, now, if you are not understanding this, so technical, if you find it, let me put this way. You're going to Australia, or you're migrating to Australia, and you're asked to carry by your consultant, okay, 2,000 Australian dollars along with you while you're boarding the flight. Then you go to the nearby Thomas Cook or any other dealer, and you want to buy the Australian dollars. Then he may say, let's say, just for the sake of convenience, I'm saying 50 rupees each Australian dollar costs, right? Into 2,000 Australian dollars you want. So 50 rupees into 2,000. So 20,000, 50 rupees into 2,000. Okay. 2 lakh rupees you have to give in order to get 2,000 Australian dollars. Then just beside you in another counter, somebody who came just from Australia is exchanging his Australian dollars, okay, into Indian rupee. When he is exchanging, you will find a different rate. He is giving only 48 rupees per dollar. When he is taking money from you, he is taking 50 rupees per Australian dollar. When he is selling the Australian dollars, he is selling at 48 per each dollar, 48 Indian rupees for each dollar. Okay. So the difference is 2 rupees. He is giving 2 rupees less to somebody who is selling the dollars. He is charging me 2 rupees more, somebody who is buying the dollars. The difference is known as spread, and this is the gain. This is the business encouragement. This gap, the spread is the business encouragement for the international currency or forex trader. The bid rate is always given first, followed by the ask rate code. If the rupee US dollar rate is quoted as 70 rupees to 71.61, 70 rupees, then, yeah, look at this. 71 is the bid rate. 70.63 is the ask rate, the buying rate. The difference is your gain. Okay. Now you may be asked to calculate the spread. Spread is nothing but the difference between selling and buying price of a currency. The same thing we can also understand in our regular day-to-day businesses also. If you look at the food grains, yeah, pulses particularly, the pulses are used directly, used for direct consumption by every household. When you go to the trader in the village, he also purchases food grains. Okay, it may be in exchange to rice, or it may be in exchange to other groceries. When he is buying the, let's say, red gram, he has one rate, which is less. When he's selling the red gram, he has another rate, okay, which is higher than the previous rate. The difference is spread. So that's what is given in this equation. So 71.61 minus 70.6326 by 71.61 into 100, which is 1.36. This is the spread calculated. Okay. The size of the spread of a currency depends on various factors like strength of the currency. When you look at this word, strength of the currency again depends on your relationship with the international, diplomatic relations. For example, because Iran is boycotted by many Western countries, the currency value against the currency value of Iran is much lower against any other Western country's currency. And because it is lower than the Western countries' currencies, it is lower than Indian currency also. It is not directly, but it is an indirect factor to decide the strength of a currency of Iran. Look at this. To put it simple way, one of my students was asking, Professor, Doctor, if you have just 30,000, you can, spend 1 week's time in my country. If you have just 30,000 rupees in your hand, you can spend 1 week in my country in Tehran, he says. That week is the currency of that country. The spread is smaller in widely traded currency, okay, than scarcely traded currency. The gap between ask and bid is it is very small when the currency is traded largely, okay, than in a scarcely traded currency. Okay, so then let's look at, these are some of the equations I told you. Then you can use the derivatives also. I will not be going deep into this. You must be knowing forward, okay, and forward rate agreement and things like that. But if you do not know, let me just put forth before you that forward is an agreement for purchase of a particular commodity, a particular good, or even a currency at a future date. The rate at which they have agreed to buy or sell is the forward rate agreement. It's a forward rate agreement. Fine. So the the price at which it is fixed it's a strike price. It is a strike price. So you can just check here in the figures. You can check here the figures. When you say forward rate agreement, then there is a future in it. If the forward rate agreements are institutionalized, then the agreement that you have is known as forward contract. As forward contract. But if it is not systematized, then it is called as futures. If it is not systematized, it's forward. If it is systematized, if it is institutionalized, it is futures. Futures are traded, unlike the forwards. Do you understand? The futures are exchange traded. Fine. When you say forward and future, there is also a spot now. Let us say I'm ready to buy American dollars. I'm ready to buy American dollars after 1 month at the so and so rate. You may say that. You may say that. But at so and so date, when you say at so and so date, after 2 months, right? After 2 months, and you fix a price, the future price and the future date. When there's a future date and future price, there's a current also, right? In derivatives, in currency derivatives, the present price is spot rate. Spot rate. Now, 70.9275, which you look at on the screen, is a spot rate. 75.25 is, okay, it is after 3 months. Look at this. 70.9275, 75.25. The future date and the spot rate. Okay. Between the spot rate and the future date, you have also cross rate. Sometimes The value of currency is not known in terms of specific currency directly, but what will you do if that is the case? It is sold for a common currency. And again, the common currency is exchanged for a specific currency. Let's say the ruble or real, it's not directly traded. Let's say the relationship between the Russia and United States is bad. It's not possible, or you're not sure how much is, your ruble is against US dollar. So what Russia will do, or Russian traders do, they first, exchange it with the Indian rupee. From Indian rupee, they will exchange those Indian rupees against the United States dollars. So this is how it takes place. This is called cross rates. Then first you exchange against rupee as a ruble. From rupee, again, you exchange against dollar. Then ultimately you get the exchange rate of your own ruble. Okay. Then you also have cross spot rates, cross future rate, cross spot rate. Okay. Yeah. What is a direct quote and what is an indirect quote is your activity or self-assessment question. The direct quote is your country's currency price is decided and what is its value against another country's currency. Direct. If it is reverse, that is indirect. Okay. Right. What determines the exchange rate in a spot market? Or you can say factors determining exchange rate. Number one is inflation. A country with a lower inflation rate than other countries will see appreciation in the value of currency. Okay? Lower inflation. A country with a consistently lower inflation rate exhibits a rising currency value. In a country like Oman, where each Omani real is equal to 170, 180 rupees. If you give just 5 reals, if you just give 5 reals, you get so much of groceries. But if you give 5 rupees, what you'll get? You don't even get a tea in India. But if you give 5 reals, you will get so much of, food grains, for the entire family in a country like Oman. What is that we understand? Lower the inflation rate, greater the appreciation in the value of currency. Whereas lower the inflation, lower the inflation rate, the higher will be the currency value. And if it is opposite, the currency value goes down when there's a high inflation rate. Fine. Interest rates. Changes in interest rates also affects the domestic country's currency. Yeah, some of the advanced nations' currency rate is very high. Changes in the interest rate affects those countries. Foreign exchange rates. Okay. Advanced countries' interest rates are very low as for personal loan 3%, for home loan 2.1%, 2.5%. It is per year. If it is in Indian scenario, the home loan is about 10.5%, personal loan is about 13% per annum, right? So you can also say more the advancement, lower the interest rates. And when the interest rates are lower, then your foreign exchange also will change accordingly. Then balance of payment is another determining factor. This is another determining factor of your country's exchange rate. If the country's current account reflects, foreign investment, country's current account of your balance sheet. As you all know, a country's balance of payment has both capital account and a current account. And in that current account, if a country has a foreign investment, it consists of total number of transactions, including exports and imports, okay, debts, etc. A deficit in current account due to spending more of its currency on importing products, then it is causing depreciation in the balance of payment, and that country's exchange rate will be lower compared to a country which is consistently exporting the goods and making a lot of foreign currency. The government debt also is another factor determining the exchange rate. Now, this is an important question for you in the examinations also. What are the factors determining the exchange rate, currency exchange rate? So government debt also is important. More the debt, less the value of your currency against that of another country's or other country's currency. Then the terms of the trade also, if you have a liberal trade terms, then people will be encouraged to come forward and invest. Then thereby, there's a capital flowing into your company and foreign exchange increases. That's how, there's a heavy demand for your country's currency, and your country's currency will be pushed up. Political stability and performance. A country's political state and economic performance can affect its currency strength. A country with less risk for political, let's say Maldives, for example, Pakistan, for example, politically stable economy, though, slow in growth, but politically it was a stable country compared to other countries. Other Asian countries, I can see, or other countries in, Southeast Asia, I can say. But of late, the political disturbances, okay, the violences in some of the states may result in, depreciation in the value of your currency in the international market, because they see or they perceive, international investors perceive, there's a risk to pump our money, or there's a risk in investing our money. So therefore, let's not go there. There's a farmer strike in one side. Okay, there's a communal violence in Gurgaon. There's a communal violence in Manipur. So when the foreign investors see all these developments, they may be reluctant to visit, such countries and invest. Thereby, that country's currency value goes down. The recession is another factor determining the exchange rate. Okay, it is just like how it influences how the exchange rate is influenced by interest rate. Finally, it is the speculation and monetary authorities intervention. At times, in order to enhance or improve the exports, and to thereby attracting the people from other countries to buy your goods and services, the government may intervene and lower the exchange rate. That is another reason. Okay. So these are the factors discuss the factors influencing exchange rate. This is an important question for the interviews or even for the examination. Write down these points in light of the discussion and your material. So how do you determine the exchange rate in a forward market? This is the equation, okay, for determining the exchange rate in a forward market. I told you what is a forward market. In future, you are making an agreement, and now only you're fixing the price, and the delivery will be taken place in future. Fine. So in such a scenario, how do you determine exchange rate? There's an equation given: F is equal to S into 1 plus ID by 1 plus IF into N. So what is F? This is forward exchange rate. What is S? It is a spot exchange rate. What is ID? Domestic inflation rate. What is IF? Foreign inflation rate. What is N? Is the number of time periods. So use this equation. F is equal to S into 1 plus ID by 1 plus IF into N to get the, exchange rate, forward exchange rate. But where do you get this? This you got it through purchasing power parity principle, the theory of purchasing power parity. We'll talk about, at a later stage. All right. And there is one more equation using interest rate parity formula, where F is equal to S into 1 plus ID by 1 plus IF into N. FSN stand for the same as stated above. Okay. Like, what did I say? F is forward, S is spot, ID is domestic inflation rate. Okay. And IF is the foreign interest rate. Okay. So using this equation, you will look at the problem and you can get a solution. Exchange rate between US and British pounds, US dollars and British pounds on the first day of January 2012 was $1.5507 per pound. This is our spot exchange rate. Okay, this is our spot, means this date is today's date. Inflation rate and interest rates in US were 2.1% and 3.5% respectively. Inflation rate and interest rate in UK were 2.8% and 3.3%. The actual exchange rate was $1.6244 per pound. Estimate the forward exchange rate between the countries in dollar-pound ratio. This is the question. So which formula will you use? You will be using forward exchange rate is equal to, which is S, F is equal to S into 1 plus ID by 1 plus IF into N. Yeah. What is F? What is S spot rate? 1.5507 multiplied with 1 plus ID, inflation rate. Okay, inflation rate. It is 33.5% respectively. Okay, which can be converted into decimals as 0.035. And also the inflation in foreign country, it's 3.3 or 0.033. Okay, to the power N. N is the number of time period, right? So estimate the forward exchange rate between the countries in and so on. So, okay. And to the power, it is in the next year, right? So therefore, to the power 1 is equal to $1.554 per pound. Okay, this is using the interest rate parity. If you use the purchasing power parity, then you have another equation. Okay, so S is same, spot rate, that is 1.5507 multiplied with 1 plus 21%. What is, 2.1%. What is 2.1? The inflation rate. Okay, the inflation rate 2.1. Then that is at that is in the within the country or domestic country. Then what about UK? The UK is a 2.8 or 0.028. So 1 plus 0.21 by 1 plus 0.028 to the power 1, which is equal to $1.5401 per pound. Look at this. You're using interest rate parity. You're using purchasing power parity to calculate the exchange rate. Okay. These are the two equations given. We'll discuss about the interest rate and, the interest rate parity and purchasing power parity. And there are two essays I'll be talking about maybe in our next class. So what we have learned is what is exchange rate, what is a direct quote and indirect quote, what is buying and selling, what is bid ask, and what is a spread, what is a cross rate, okay, and what is exchange rate quotation, how do you calculate exchange rate quote, okay, and what are the determining factors, and some problems and equations we discussed. And we'll stop with this for today. Thank you. Any questions you can ask me. Okay, I'll keep the material shared so that you can ask me. Yeah, please ask me if any questions are there. I had to deal with the purchasing power and interest rate parity, purchasing power parity. We'll discuss that. These two you must be knowing, okay? Any questions, please? If there are no questions, I'm just closing the session. Okay, shall we close the session for today? Anil?
Sir.
Okay, okay, okay. Krishna Mohan, shall we close the session today?
Sir, yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay, okay.